However, Sidon Tolstoy's inner sister is gold chill and she made her look like a fool at her party, so she decided to run away from her family. It's a really interesting story. You're open in the comments. Enjoy your learning.
My sister is a golden child. She made me a laughingstock at her party, so I decided to run away from the family. In the quiet suburb of Cedarville, nestled among the oak-lined streets and manicured lawns, lived a family that appeared perfect to the outside world. The Johnsons, comprised of Mark, Diane, and their two daughters, Emily and Sarah, were the picture of suburban success. Mark, a high-powered attorney, and Diane, a well-known interior designer, were the kind of parents who attended every school function and hosted lavish holiday parties. But within the walls of their beautifully decorated home, a much darker story unfolded. Emily, the eldest daughter, was a quiet, introspective child with a love for books and drawing. From an early age, she learned to keep to herself, finding solace in the stories she read and the characters she created. Emily's world was one of imagination, where she could escape the harsh reality of her family life. For in the Johnson household, it was Sarah, the younger sister, who was the shining star. Sarah was born 2 years after Emily, and from the moment she arrived, it was clear she was the favored child. With her golden curls, bright blue eyes, and infectious smile, she quickly became the center of attention. Sarah was showered with affection, praised for her smallest accomplishments, and given everything she desired. She was the golden child, the apple of her parents' eyes. Emily, on the other hand, was often overlooked. Her achievements were met with indifference, and her needs were frequently ignored. She watched from the shadows as Sarah received new clothes, toys, and lavish birthday parties, while she was given hand-me-downs and second-hand gifts. The disparity in their treatment was stark, and it only grew more pronounced as they got older. As the years passed, Emily learned to navigate her parents' neglect. She excelled in school, hoping that academic success might earn her some semblance of recognition. But no matter how many, as she brought home or how many art competitions she won, her parents' attention remained firmly fixed on Sarah. The younger sister's every whim was catered to, and she quickly learned to manipulate their parents to get what she wanted. One summer, when Emily was 10 and Sarah was 8, their parents decided to renovate the house. Diane, ever the perfectionist, was obsessed with creating the ideal living space. She hired the best contractors, sourced the finest materials, and spent hours poring over design magazines for inspiration. During this period, Emily and Sarah were sent to stay with their grandparents. Their grandparents' house was a small, cozy cottage on the edge of town, a stark contrast to the Johnsons' sprawling suburban home. Here, Emily felt a sense of peace and belonging that she never experienced at home. Her grandparents were kind and attentive, encouraging her artistic pursuits and listening to her stories. Sarah, however, found the cottage dull and missed the luxuries of home. One evening, while their grandparents were preparing dinner, Sarah decided to explore the attic. Emily, ever the responsible older sister, followed her to make sure she didn't get into trouble. As they climbed the creaky wooden stairs, Sarah's excitement grew. The attic was a treasure trove of old furniture, dusty books, and forgotten memories. Sarah's eyes lit up when she found an old trunk in the corner. She struggled to open it, and Emily reluctantly helped. Inside, they discovered a collection of old photographs, letters, and trinkets from their grandparents' youth. Among the items was a delicate silver locket, intricately designed and glinting in the dim light. Sarah immediately claimed it as her own, despite Emily's protests that it belonged to their grandmother. That night at dinner, Sarah proudly showed off the locket. Their grandparents' eyes widened in recognition, and their grandmother gently explained that the locket was a cherished heirloom passed down through generations. Emily watched as Sarah's face fell, and she braced herself for the inevitable tantrum. Sure enough, Sarah began to cry, insisting that she should be allowed to keep the locket. Diane and Mark, who had arrived to join them for dinner, immediately took Sarah's side, chastising their grandparents for upsetting their precious daughter. Emily felt a familiar pang of hurt and frustration as she watched the scene unfold. She had hoped that their time with their grandparents would be a respite from the favoritism, but it seemed there was no escaping it. As the years went by, Sarah's manipulative behavior grew more sophisticated. She learned to play the role of the perfect daughter in public, while using her charm to get whatever she wanted at home. She developed a knack for turning situations to her advantage, often at Emily's expense. When Emily received a scholarship to a prestigious art camp, Sarah feigned interest and convinced their parents to send her on a luxury vacation instead. Emily's dreams of attending the camp were dashed, and she was left to spend the summer at home alone. High school only intensified the dynamic between the sisters. Sarah blossomed into a beautiful, confident teenager, effortlessly popular and always at the center of attention. She excelled in cheerleading, dated the most sought-after boys, and was crowned homecoming queen. Emily, meanwhile, retreated further into her studies and art, finding solace in the few close friends she had managed to make. The turning point came when Emily was 16. She had been working tirelessly on a portfolio for an art scholarship that could potentially secure her a place at a prestigious college. One evening, while she was out with friends, Sarah threw a party at their house. The party quickly spiraled out of control, and in the chaos, Emily's carefully curated portfolio was destroyed. When Emily returned home and saw the wreckage, she was devastated. Her parents, rather than chastising Sarah for the irresponsible party, berated Emily for leaving her work out where it could be damaged. It was a crushing blow, and it marked the moment Emily realized she could no longer rely on her family for support or validation. Determined to escape the toxic environment, Emily threw herself into her studies even harder. She managed to rebuild her portfolio and eventually earned a full scholarship to a prestigious art school on the other side of the country. The day she left for college was bittersweet. She was excited to start a new chapter of her life, but haunted by the years of neglect and mistreatment. At college, Emily thrived. She found herself surrounded by like-minded individuals who appreciated her talent and passion. She quickly made friends and established herself as a promising young artist. For the first time in her life, she felt truly seen and valued. Back home, Sarah continued to bask in her parents' adoration. She attended a local university, more interested in the social scene than her studies. Despite her outward success, there was a growing emptiness inside her. She had always relied on the attention and validation of others, and without Emily to overshadow, she began to feel the weight of her own shortcomings. One summer, when Emily was home for a visit, a shocking event shattered the fragile equilibrium of their family. Sarah had been dating a wealthy older man, a relationship that Diane and Mark wholeheartedly approved of. One night, Sarah called Emily in tears, begging her to come pick her up. Against her better judgment, Emily agreed. When she arrived, she found Sarah bruised and hysterical. Her boyfriend had become violent during an argument, and Sarah had fled. Emily took her to the hospital, where they learned that Sarah had suffered a concussion and several broken ribs. Despite their strained relationship, Emily stayed by her sister's side, supporting her through the ordeal. The incident forced Diane and Mark to confront the reality of their golden child's life. For the first time, they saw the cracks in the facade they had so carefully constructed. They began to question their choices and the impact they had on their daughters. But for Emily, the damage was already done. She returned to college with a renewed determination to build a life independent of her family's influence. In the years that followed, Emily found success as an artist, her work gaining recognition and acclaim. She built a life filled with meaningful relationships and creative fulfillment. Sarah, meanwhile, struggled to find her footing. Without the constant validation from her parents, she floundered, drifting from one failed relationship to another. The sisters' paths rarely crossed, but when they did, there was a tentative understanding between them. Emily had long since forgiven Sarah, recognizing that her sister's behavior was a product of their parents' favoritism and not entirely her fault. Sarah, for her part, began to see Emily in a new light, admiring her strength and resilience. The Johnson family remained fractured, but there were moments of healing. Diane and Mark made efforts to reconnect with Emily, acknowledging the mistakes they had made. Emily, ever compassionate, allowed them back into her life, albeit with firm boundaries. As they all moved forward, the shadows of the past lingered, but they no longer defined Emily's life. She had carved out a space for herself, a place where she could thrive and create, free from the weight of her parents' neglect and her sister's manipulation. And in that space, she found a sense of peace and fulfillment that had eluded her for so long. Years passed, and Emily and Sarah each found love in their own unique ways. Emily met Michael, a fellow artist, at one of her gallery exhibitions. He was captivated by her work and her quiet strength. Michael was patient and kind, offering Emily the support and understanding she had always yearned for. They bonded over their shared passion for art and soon became inseparable. Sarah, on the other hand, found love unexpectedly during one of her counseling sessions. Daniel was a volunteer at the rehab center where Sarah worked. He had a warm, compassionate heart and a genuine desire to help others. Daniel's unwavering belief in second chances resonated deeply with Sarah, who was on her own journey of redemption. They fell in love quickly, and Sarah felt a sense of stability she had never known before. Both sisters married in the same year, surrounded by friends and family. Their weddings were joyous occasions, full of laughter and hope for the future. Emily and Michael exchanged vows in a serene garden ceremony, while Sarah and Daniel opted for a small, intimate beach wedding. It seemed like the Johnson family had finally found the happiness they had long sought. For a while, life was blissful. Emily and Michael thrived in their creative endeavors, often collaborating on projects and exhibitions. Their love was a source of inspiration for both, and they built a life filled with art, travel, and mutual respect. Sarah and Daniel focused on building a family. Sarah's experiences had instilled in her a deep desire to create a loving and nurturing home. She threw herself into motherhood with dedication, and together with Daniel, they raised two beautiful children, Emma and Jack. Their home was filled with laughter, warmth, and the kind of unconditional love Sarah had always longed for. However, the peace and happiness they had found were soon tested in ways they never could have imagined. Emily was the first to face the darkness. Michael had always been supportive of her career, but as her fame grew, so did the pressures and temptations that came with it. Late nights at galleries, traveling for exhibitions, and mingling with influential people began to take a toll on their relationship. Michael, who had once been Emily's biggest cheerleader, started to feel overshadowed and neglected. It was during one of Emily's solo exhibitions in Paris that Michael met Anna, a young, ambitious curator who admired his work. Anna's attention and admiration filled the void that had grown between Emily and Michael. What started as innocent conversations about art soon turned into late-night rendezvous and hidden secrets. Emily returned from Paris to find Michael distant and preoccupied. At first, she attributed it to the stress of his own work, but the signs of betrayal soon became undeniable. She found messages on his phone, saw the changes in his behavior, and felt the growing chasm between them. Confronting Michael was one of the hardest things Emily had ever done. She had faced neglect and favoritism as a child, but this was different. This was the man she had chosen, the person she had trusted with her heart. When Michael admitted to the affair, Emily's world shattered. The betrayal cut deep, and the pain was overwhelming. Sarah's life, too, was about to be upended. While Emily was grappling with Michael's infidelity, Sarah was dealing with her own crisis. Daniel, who had been her rock, started working late and spending more time away from home. Sarah, with her history of distrust and insecurity, began to worry. She feared that her past was repeating itself, that she would be abandoned once again. One evening, Sarah followed Daniel to his office, where she discovered him in an intimate embrace with a colleague. The betrayal was a devastating blow. Sarah had rebuilt her life from the ashes of her past, and now it seemed everything was crumbling once more. The man she loved, the father of her children, had betrayed her trust. Both sisters found themselves at crossroads, their marriages hanging by a thread, but instead of letting these betrayals destroy them, they chose to fight for their happiness and their families. Emily decided to take a break from her career to focus on her relationship with Michael. They sought counseling and worked through the pain and mistrust that had built up between them. It was a long, arduous process, but they slowly began to rebuild their relationship on a foundation of honesty and communication. Michael ended his affair with Anna, and over time he and Emily found their way back to each other. Sarah, too, confronted Daniel about his infidelity. The pain was raw, and the wounds were deep, but Daniel was genuinely remorseful. He realized the gravity of his mistake and was determined to make amends. They also sought counseling and worked tirelessly to repair their relationship. Sarah learned to forgive, and Daniel committed himself to regaining her trust. The path to redemption was not easy. There were moments of doubt, anger, and sadness. But Emily and Sarah drew strength from each other and from the lessons they had learned growing up. They knew that they deserved happiness and that it was worth fighting for. As they healed, both sisters found new depths of strength and resilience. Emily's art took on a new dimension, reflecting her journey through pain and healing. Her work resonated even more with audiences, who saw in her pieces the raw, unfiltered emotions of someone who had faced betrayal and emerged stronger. Sarah, inspired by her experiences, decided to expand her counseling work to include support groups for women who had faced infidelity. She found purpose in helping others navigate the same painful journey she had endured, and it brought her a sense of fulfillment and peace. Years later, the Johnson family gathered once more, this time in a place of genuine happiness and understanding. Emily and Michael had renewed their vows in a private ceremony, reaffirming their commitment to each other. Sarah and Daniel, too, had weathered the storm and emerged stronger, their bond deeper than ever. Emma and Jack, now teenagers, thrived in the loving environment their parents had worked so hard to create. The family enjoyed dinners together, took vacations, and supported each other through life's ups and downs. Emily and Sarah's relationship, once marred by jealousy and resentment, had transformed into a source of strength and support. They were not just sisters, but best friends, confidants who had shared the darkest moments of their lives and come out stronger. The Johnsons, once fractured, had found a way to heal and grow. They had learned that love, trust, and forgiveness were not just ideals but practices that required effort and commitment. They had faced their demons, confronted their pasts, and chosen to build a future based on mutual respect and understanding. In the end, the shadows of their past no longer held sway over their lives. Emily and Sarah had turned their pain into power, their betrayals into lessons, and their struggles into triumphs. They had proven that even the most broken of families could find a way to heal and thrive together. Life continued, with its inevitable ups and downs. Emily and Michael welcomed a daughter, Lily, into their lives, further cementing their bond. Emily found that motherhood brought out a new layer of creativity and inspiration in her art. She painted with a renewed vigor, her canvases capturing the raw beauty and chaos of life. Sarah and Daniel also grew their family, welcoming another son, Noah. Sarah's dedication to her family and her work in counseling brought her immense satisfaction. She felt she was finally living the life she had always dreamed of, surrounded by love and purpose. But life, as they had learned, was never without its challenges. Daniel was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease, which turned their world upside down. The once vibrant and energetic man now faced daily battles with his health. Sarah, ever the resilient fighter, took on the role of caregiver with unwavering determination. Emily and Michael, witnessing their sister and brother-in-law's struggle, stepped in to provide support. The families grew even closer, their bond strengthened by shared hardships. They organized fundraisers for Daniel's treatment, and Emily's art became a means to raise awareness and funds for autoimmune diseases. The community rallied around them, and the Johnson family became a symbol of resilience and unity. Their story was featured in local newspapers and magazines, highlighting their journey from a fractured family to one that embodied strength and compassion. In the midst of these challenges, Emily's career reached new heights. She was invited to exhibit her work in a prestigious international art festival. The recognition was a dream come true, and Emily felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Michael and Lily traveled with her, turning the event into a family adventure. During the exhibition, Emily received an offer to collaborate on a major public art project in New York City. It was an opportunity of a lifetime, but it required her to spend several months away from home. Emily was torn between her passion for art and her responsibilities as a mother and wife. Michael, ever supportive, encouraged her to pursue the opportunity. "Well, make it work," he said. "Lily and I will visit you often, and we'll get through this together." Emily took the leap, and the experience was transformative. The project brought her immense joy and fulfillment, and she returned home with a renewed sense of purpose. The time apart had been challenging, but it had also strengthened their relationship, proving that they could withstand anything together. Back in Cedarville, Sarah and Daniel continued to navigate the complexities of his illness. There were good days and bad days, but through it all, they remained steadfast in their love and commitment to each other. Sarah's work with her support groups grew, and she became a beacon of hope for many women facing similar struggles. One evening, as the families gathered for a barbecue at Emily's house, Lily and Noah played together in the yard, their laughter filling the air. Emily and Sarah watched them, reflecting on how far they had come.
Hello, it's a really amazing and interesting story. What do you think? Write comment, put like, and subscribe to our channel, Instagram and Discord. Good luck!